What's up everyone, welcome back to another episode of Before We Leave. This is part 4 in the series of where we're building a civilization from scratch and trying to build it into a much more advanced civilization in the world. In the last episode, we ended up leaving off on creating our little transatlantic exchange where we were bringing resources from island to island after colonizing our third island. In this episode, we're going to be finally creating some luxury for our peeps by developing some better clothing, by getting some more fuel, and cleaning up their pollution on all the islands. We're starting off this episode by bringing over a bunch of resources from our first island over to the second island so we can start giving them better clothing in this sand kind of mixed desert island. And as you can see right now, we're creating the Weaver right here and the marketplace right now next to it. The marketplace is primarily used in order to increase their happiness, as you can see on the bottom right. And when it comes to the Weaver, we're going to be making better clothing out of this. Now, the Weaver is going to end up using cotton, which we recently just came across as a new resource, and we started planting some cotton right here and over here as well, and we're going to try and upgrade it as well if we can later in this episode. On top of that, we also developed the glass smelter and create a iron mine and quarry up on the highlands over here in the second island as well. We had it originally on the first island too, but instead of bringing over all the resources over and over again, I just brought over some wood, some tools, some stone in order to just build them separately on this island. That way I don't have to keep running back and forth and developing and bringing back so many different resources over and over again, because our ships only can hold 30, so it takes too much time to do that anyway. So right now we are trying to collect as much cotton as we can to develop it into the so we can develop it into clothing, but we can't really do that unless we get more resources. So the first thing we're going to want to do is get some more power on this island. So in order to get some of that power, we're going to use a wood generator. So we already have some of the woodcutters here, so we're going to create a wood generator. Again, we don't want to be too close next to any of the population, so we're going to throw it up on this highlands. We'll throw the wood generator down, and eventually when we get enough resources, we're definitely going to want to make an oil generator, and we're going to need to figure out why the oil isn't getting harvested so far. So it looks like we're going to need some iron first, so it looks like we need the iron to be collecting. We have the iron mine here. It looks like the iron mine is coming up, but we do need some resources, or a storage space primarily for it. So let's build one of those warehouses that we can actually store all our resources in. We also need an iron mine. So we have the iron mine, but we need the iron smelter. That's what we're missing. So we have the iron coming in, but we have to start smelting it as soon as possible. So let's get one of those up here as well. We're going to build the road a bit further so it has a bit of space on this highland, so don't just waste all the space on this island. And we're going to go get the smelter right now. So we're going to build the warehouses here as well. So we want the warehouse being stored so we have more resources coming in over time. And we're also, like I said, we're going to make an iron smelter if we can. So here's our iron smelter. I realized I went over it about 20 different times. We're going to toss it up here just so it's out of the way. It looks like it's going to be right next to some of the fields, but it's not going to touch any of the huts, which is even better for us. We're going to toss it up here next to the highlands. Now all of our stuff is up here on the highland. We have all of our pollution things out of the way, but eventually we do want to set up a pollution cleaner, which we just unlocked recently at the start of this episode. You'll see that in the time lapse in the beginning. So we'll probably throw it somewhere over here just so it can be in the way between the hut and all these pollution buildings. That way it doesn't get in the way of anything. Next up, it looks like we need a few more peeps. It looks like we don't have enough people working at once, so we're actually going to build some of the huts. A few more actually if we can, and then on top of that we're going to start upgrading to some houses. So we'll throw a hut here and a hut there just so we have a few going around without trying to accidentally pollute them, although one of these might be in the middle of a pollution center, which will be a little bit unfortunate for them, or it actually looks like they're right outside it, so shouldn't be too much of an issue for this hut with their own people. We're going to create some luxury on this island, and eventually once we have enough luxury for them, we will hopefully be able to start developing the third island too. After this episode, we're definitely going to want to try and figure out what to do with that rocket earlier on we saw on the third island. We'll actually go check it out right now, what resources we needed. There was a few resources that we don't actually know much about. So it says we know we can get the wood, we know we can get the glass from the second island, we know we can get the fuel eventually once we unlock it. The tools are easy to get, the stone is easy to get. We have all the food and drinks. And we can get the energy just by building a few things on this island, but it looks like this unknown resource. We don't quite know what this is just yet. So now that our warehouse is finally built, we're actually going to choose a couple of the things that we want to store. We're definitely going to be storing some iron and definitely going to be storing some clothes just so we have them, or in particular some of the resources. So we're going to try and get some of the glass if we can, and then we'll definitely store some fuel once we start getting that going as well. Those will be definitely really useful, and some of the resources we can't really send over. Now that we have enough resources, especially the iron, the oil well is finally working, so we'll be able to get oil, and eventually we're going to get the fuel set up too. Now that our ship is actually over, we're going to bring over some of this extra tools from the first island. Those should help out, and eventually, once those are up, we should be able to create some of this cotton as well for the clothing. If you're interested in seeing on me upgrading this and getting all the clothing and the fuel and the oil to the second island, finishing that up, and then bringing it to the third island too, make sure to stick around and see the time lapse at the end of this video. Other than that, once we finish this up, we'll figure out the resource that we need for the rocket ship, and hopefully we'll be able to do that in the next episode. With that though, while we get the cotton going, I do want to make sure to say, if you've seen all the way through the end of this episode, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. If you have any comments on what I should be doing next or any other games I should be playing, let me know down below too. Other than that, thanks for watching all the way to the end of the episode, and I will see you in the next one when we finally try and figure out what that unknown resource is and how we can get into space. Bye!